Hello everyone, happy International Polar Bear Day. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Katie Miller behind the scenes from our office in Bozeman, Montana, and I'm gonna start with a little intro here and then pass it over. We're so excited for this recycled art polar bear event with a dear friend of ours and an amazing artist who lives in Churchill, Manitoba, Sandra Cook, and we've linked her Facebook page in all of our materials, so definitely check out her Facebook page and follow her art. She does amazing paintings, you know, from smaller things to murals on the sides of buildings in Churchill, and we just so love working with her. We also have a couple helpers today. Sandra's daughter Kara is going to be joining us and helping. And let me switch so you can start to see the team there. And then we have two PBI staff who are based in Churchill assisting today as well. So we've got Dave Alcorn and Kyron McIver. They'll be chiming in, and Dave will be helping demo and do the art project along with all of you. So just a reminder, if you're under about 10 years old, it would be really good to have an adult with you. And there's going to be some options for the level of difficulty, but some of the techniques, it'll be good to have an adult helping you and by your side. If you have questions throughout the event, you can type them into the chat window on our website, or you can type them into the comments on Facebook. If they're about the art project itself, I'll jump on and ask Sandra those questions. And if they're about polar bears, our team behind the scenes will do our best to answer those questions for you today. Or we might throw some of those over to Dave and Kyron to see if they might have some input and information to share with us. So with that, I am going to go ahead and pass it over to our team in Churchill and to Sandra. Take it away.
Hi everyone. I want to first off, I'd like to thank PBI and Dave and Kyron here locally for the opportunity to share a little bit about what I do. One thing I do have to say is I'm not a crafty person. This is very, very much out of my comfort zone. I draw and paint, glue and things like this. I don't do often, so this is out of my comfort zone as well, but it's been a lot of fun to figure this out and develop a project. I hope you all enjoy. I've got Kara along with me here because I'm not crafty. She's crafty. You're crafty, right? Anyway, go ahead and start with this. So I don't know if you have, if you'd like to, we start with a scrap piece of wood, okay? Just a little bit of information. These pieces of wood are left over from the building of my new studio. Just saying. So we like to repurpose whatever we can here. That's one of the things in Churchill is even getting art supplies up here is a challenge. So why not repurpose what we have and make out of what we're going to otherwise throw away. Anyway, I've got the line drawings here. If you have a piece of wood and you're going to use the drawing, you need to transfer it. You can either draw directly on the wood if you like first, okay, or we can use transfer paper. I don't know if anybody has. If you don't have, this is what Kara's got set up here. So she's got a drawing on here and she's got it taped to the transfer paper, okay, and then taped to the piece of wood where she wants it. Keep in mind, take a look at your wood, and I've really made use in these pieces here, okay, we've made use of the lines in the wood, all right. Oh, one more thing. Level of difficulty, okay? These two here, this one with the bear and the profile shot would be the easiest or the simplest to do. Carolina did this one, and I did that one, okay? The next one would be this one here. Now this one is just repurposed on a photograph actually that was mounted to wood, and I just glued on right on there and painted directly on it. This might be the next one. And then this one here would probably be the most difficult, is my estimation. Again, it just depends on what you're comfortable with doing. Okay, so I do have this one right here is the same drawing, but this one's not painted yet. Should I bring that in to take a look at this? Or if you want to see, I don't know if you can see the outline of the eyes here and the nose. This is where the difficulty gets, is getting those parts in there. Okay, we can show how to do it, but it can be a little bit difficult. Anyway, to get the drawing on, what we're going to do is, like I said, Kara's got her piece. She's decided how she wants it, where she wants it placed. She's taped it onto the transfer paper and then onto the wood. Now you just draw on top of it. Okay, go ahead. And you just outline the whole thing. If you don't have transfer paper, there's another thing you can do. If you see what I've got, this drawing here, you flip it over, you take a pencil, and when you can see through the lines here, you take your pencil and you just go like that, around the lines, and then you flip it over, and you simply draw, follow the lines here, and if you can see that, there's the outline has shown up on the wood. If you can see that there. So that's a good way to get the drawing on the wood if you need to. Okay, how you doing, Karen? I'm just going to slip this. I don't need this anymore. I'll put that out of the way. And Dave, do you want to show what you've done so far?
Sure, so I got a piece of plywood as well, and I just put the drawing of the bears already there. And it was pastels, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I used colored pastels and made a sky and I guess it would be like a sea ice platform or a rock platform. I haven't quite figured out what ground's going to be yet. But kind of merged the reflections of the sky into the ground, whether it'll be ice of some sort. But yeah, it's interesting to work with.
The pastels
the
on the wood?
Pastels, yeah, on the wood. It's the wood kind of ate a lot of the color up.
Yeah, it soaks it in.
It soaks it in, so you've got to really sort of layer it on thick and just don't be shy to add more and more pastels. I'm going to have to go over the white again. I think white in particular, I should have been really heavy on the white.
Yep, and you'll do 2 coats of pastels, 2 layers of pastels. The second one you can get more white in. Now these ones here, this one and this one are both pastel backgrounds. This one is paint and that one over there is paint. They're acrylic craft paints. Okay, do you want to get started mixing up our stuff? Is the background dry?
Not quite.
Close enough? Okay.
Not quite.
It'll stick. Let's just mix this stuff up. So what we've done, so we've taken our dryer lint, okay, lots of it. We've been collecting it for quite a while. I like chopsticks for handling it. It just seems to work well for me. Now, when your dryer lint is just like this is not bad because you guys, this is from Dave. He doesn't have a dog. We have a dog, so I've had to cut it up because there's a lot of hair in it. But you just cut and cut and cut it until it's really small. That's what I've done to that. Okay, so I've put some in here already. I'll put a little bit more in, and you're going to need maybe a little bit more as well, Dave. Okay, help yourself. This is very imprecise. Just some dryer lint, some flour. I've got probably about a 1/4 cup to start. Okay, here's flour for you, Dave.
Okay, and about 1/4 cup?
Yeah, about that, maybe a little more. It's up to you. Okay, now you can use, I'm just scrounging through my house to see what I have. There's some carpenter's glue. There's some podge. Ooh, this one looks almost empty. I'm going to mix a little bit. Podge is basically thinned glue, isn't it? I'm not exactly sure. Like I said, I'm not crafty. So I'm going to throw a bit of glue in there as well. and some water, just a touch, and we're going to mix it around until it looks like a kind of a sludgy stuff.
Just like a teaspoon?
Just throw some. I don't know. Just put some.
Good.
And you know what? I think this is a very flexible, open type craft. Play around with it until it looks like something you're comfortable with. I'm just mixing this up and it looks like almost a cement kind of sludge. I'll bring this in close. If you can see, it looks floppy.
See that? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a nice, messy kind of goop.
A little bit more.
A little bit, yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, I don't know. We have 4 people in our house, and in the winter, especially, we do use the dryer. And I'm looking at all this dryer lint and looking at it and thinking, what am I going to do with this stuff? It's got to be something. And I thought, polar bear hair. It's got to be something I can do with this. So that's where this idea came from. And then I found out other people have used it as well. My son actually told me, oh yeah, people have done that before. And you can even use it for paper mache too, if you're crafty.
And that looks pretty good. It's kind of like a goopy.
Yeah, a goopy kind of mess. Something that you think you can spread around.
Yeah.
Okay, and as soon as you have that, how you doing, Carrie? You got it ready?
Where's the chance?
Yeah. Do you want me to take over, or are you good?
You can go if you want.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. You do it. So while while Kara's finishing getting her outline, we can talk about the tools. Okay. So I just went through the house. Do you want to get close in here, or is this? Can I lift? Yeah, we're good. Okay. Okay. So these are obviously arty tools and not very well cleaned. We have those, but there's also any kind of scraper, anything. This is, I think, for frosting a cake. The knife somebody has used in the house for something.
Max did.
Okay. I've got a comb, nail file. These are tools for clay. You can use that. Another little clay tool, fondue fork. Kara, do you remember this fork? I found this in the back of the cupboard. Yeah, just a fork, more combs, a pencil that doesn't work anymore, fondue, not fondue, shish kebab holder. Skewer, yeah, chopsticks, any kind of card, like, you know, those loyalty card things that you shop anywhere, you get those. I just cut it. I use these a lot with art. Kitchen scrapers. Anything like that. Anything that will scrape. Okay? So you're all that? Alright, so Kara has got hers done here. This is her drawing. Now we're just going to take this off the right way. Let's do tape first. And there we go. Okay? So, now what we're going to do, and if you have any bits of, there's a little bit of graphite on there from the transfer paper. You can leave it or not. You can paint over it. I'm just actually going to erase it. Okay. Here, I'll take that. Here. All right. So it's a good idea to have the picture on hand while you are doing your work. Sorry, I'm on the camera here first. Okay. So Dave, this one's yours.
Okay.
We'll just take a look at the picture that we're referencing. Okay. So I'm going to use chopsticks. Kara, do you want to pick a weapon? And you know what? You can use a spoon, a fork, or anything, and just put it on. And then we're going to spread it around. Use whatever tool you like to spread it around.
So you just put this right on there?
Just throw it on there. Yeah. And spread. Now, If you want to do it thick, it's gonna take a while to dry. This one here, okay, was 2 days drying time. All right. Same with these other ones. They're roughly 2 days drying time. This one, I don't know if you can see the texture. Can you see that okay? How thick that is? This was about a week. Okay, and you might notice the nose is a little bit wonky. That's what's going to happen. This is very imprecise. As it's drying, it's going to shrink. You can keep an eye on it, maybe move things around a little bit more as it's drying. But it shrunk, or maybe it got bashed a little bit, but it's a little bit imprecise. But whatever, you work with it. That's the fun part. All right?
You might need a little bit more.
Yep, probably. So put more on as you need. How are you doing with that, Dave? Is it working?
It's good. It's actually
Fun?
it actually spreads a lot easier than what I thought. I think it's easier to use a chopstick than a scraper.
Maybe.
I think.
Yeah. Or use whatever you're comfortable with. And if you go outside the line, it's okay because you can always just move it over. It's very, very forgivable. Okay? Now I'm going to use a palette knife just because that's what I like to do. And if you want to, I don't know, I'm going to bring something in here for a minute if I can. I'm taking the knife and I'm kind of creating hair texture, if that makes any sense. And I'm just using my knife like that. But you do it any old way you want, as thick as you want, spread it around. Now you might notice that we didn't do the background first. It's entirely up to you. You can put your background in first, or you can do your background later. All of these ones here were done with the background later. Dave is a rebel. He's putting his in first. And Dave is obviously he's really concentrating right now too. I see that.
That's good.
He's got it two-handed because there's only one of him. Now, if you are using one of the pictures, if you're doing this one or this one here, what we're doing, you might look, can I look this up again here?
Mm-hmm.
And you might be thinking, oh, where's the head? You can move it around a little bit and still see your drawing for the guideline.
And you can move your drawing.
And you can also take a look at this as well, okay? So what we're going to do here now that we've got the whole shape, we've got the whole outer shape done, we're going to take a look at where we might want to put different texture, okay? Now if you take a look here, we're going to want a line here, so I'm going to go in like that. Here I'm going to want a line. Okay, so we're just going to move it around like that. Okay, Kara, away you go. We don't often do artwork together. And now I'm also making the head part. How you doing, Dave? You need help?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, good.
Because
I do. Oh, you're doing a lot of texture, aren't you? That's really cool.
And maybe, I'm trying to get a little bit more out of the legs, I think, and put them more into the body.
Yeah, exactly. And build it up as much as you want. I'm going to put a little bit more texture on here, on this one. When I say texture, I think, no, I'm using the goop. I want to build it up. Okay? Build up the thickness for the head part. Okay? So I'm going to add a little bit more there. Goop, is that what we're calling this stuff?
It's
Goop.
Goop. Okay. So Karen, help me get the head in. Don't squish it down.
Putting the head in.
Okay.
I'm just going to do it.
Okay. Well, whatever. It's your choice.
Because whenever I try to boxing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just joking.
No, that's all right. That's good. I am bossy. I'm the mom. Okay. So I think we got that.
Nice.
What do you think? We can play around a little bit more with the head after that, and we are going to paint that one as well. Can I look at where you're at, Dave?
Yeah, for sure.
That looks great. Wow, that's a really texture-y there. You got lots of texture in there. Do you want to turn it up to show?
Sure.
Or?
There's the polar bear with the lots of texture going on there. Oh, I'm showing that one. Lots of texture going on there. Look at that.
So let's run these.
You're right.
That's beautiful. Now it's really important that people remember to do it your own way, and put your own spin on this, please. The only reason that I'm sorry, Katie. Absolutely. That's wonderful. Now I'm using this little card to create the fur. See what I'm doing here, Kara? Do you want to do some of that
That's
fur
good
stuff
idea.
while I do the face?
Good
Okay.
idea to use just a little.
Do you want? We can trade places. Would you like? Is it easier for you to work from front?
No.
Okay. And I am looking at the reference picture as well because I really need that guideline to see where I'm going to create the head. I'm going to put a little bit more goop.
Goop?
We need a word for this stuff.
Paste.
Paste? Okay.
Paste sounds too professional.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It actually, that's when I was thinking of what I could mix with this stuff. Is it reminded me of, I think it was preschool, but I think we called it nursery school back in those days. I can remember thinking I was such a rebel because we made paste out of flour and water to glue cotton balls onto a snowman shape. And I felt like a rebel because I decided to eat it.
I knew you were going to say something like, I knew there was going to be something eating it involved.
Yes, I ate the paste and I thought, well, let's try that again because that was fun. I'm not eating this stuff though.
You got me
No,
up.
it's probably not as tasty.
No, I don't think it would be as tasty as the paste that we made in preschool. Especially with the glue in it. I just want to take a look for a second, Kara, to see how my head is doing. It's a little wonky, but that's okay. Wonky's okay. Now, a really important thing to remember is that this is really imprecise. I'm just kind of making the ears, okay, and I'm just making the shape of the face here, and then I'm going to let Kara go at the fur. You're the fur girl, okay, Kara?
I told him about water.
Oh, don't do that. Okay, so I'm just adding a little bit more as I need it. And you know what? You can let it dry a little bit and then move it around a little bit more as it's drying. Okay, I'm not even going to bother putting eyes in this one. I just want the shape of the head and the snout. And then I'm going to paint the eyes in later. All right, Kara, where you go? Keep going to town on the fur. Dave, how are you doing?
Good. Yeah, I don't want to add too much more. But I think it's pretty good.
Okay, so while you're doing that, I can get on this one. I can either pick this part here or do the background. I was kind of thinking of doing background on this one because we've got Dave's with the pastels. I'd like to show how I did the pastels on that. If anybody's interested, what do you think? Should it be pastels or should I paint it?
Pastels, I think, like,
Back up
yeah.
and then paint this?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Pastels.
So that's what we'll do. So while you're doing that, I'm going to do pastels here. Okay? Okay?
I think it's done.
No, you're going to play with the fur a little bit more, get the feet in there. Okay. All right, so Dave, I'm gonna steal your pastel palette
Sure.
if I can.
I'm embracing the sort of imprecision.
Isn't
Best I can.
it
It
fun?
goes against my nature to get imprecise, and it goes against
Yes.
my nature.
And you know what? Actually, that's something I've been exploring lately as an artist, is giving up control.
Right? You've got no control over it. It does its own thing.
Yes. And that actually kind of drives me crazy, but it's fun. So the pastels as well, when you're doing the pastels on the unfinished wood, it's going to change a lot. And I think that's really important. I brought these two little panels here as an indicator of what the difference is, what happens with the pastels. If you can see up close, these are both using the same color, except a little bit of purple in this one. This is how bright it is before it's sprayed with fixative, and this is how it changes. Okay, so it's really important to keep that in mind. If you're using pastels, when you spray the fixative, it will change quite a bit. So what I'm going to do here on this one is I'm going to the lines. I'm making use of the wood. And that's what I did with that. And wow, it turned out to look like Aurora. Now I'm doing very heavy with white in here, because the white seems to get lost really quickly when you spray it. Okay, so I'm going to start with white, and this is really quick actually. Well, quick for some. Maybe. I don't know, maybe I'm taking a little longer. Okay, throw a bit of yellow. What did you do with the yellow, Dave? There it is.
I think it's
Yeah? You think you're done? Nah, you can play with the wood a little bit more. Or play with the fur. Get some more fur lines on the edges. Yeah, you can do a little more. I'm not very good at calling anything done. I'll keep playing with it forever.
It's not a good thing.
I know. So I'm just throwing some color in here. Okay, I've got some nice kind of, almost a neon yellow. And a couple of blues I'll use. When it comes to Aurora, really try to avoid a pattern if you can. There's somewhat of a pattern, but if you have too much of a pattern, it's not going to look very natural. Oh, exactly. And you know what? It never gets old. I've been looking at Aurora all my life, and it never gets old. And I love it how sometimes you'll have, you'll be watching it and you'll see green and that and a little bit of white showing, and then all of a sudden this flash of brilliant color, and it's gone. And you'll go, did that really happen? And it's always exciting. And for me, I never have a camera out, and if I did, I wouldn't know how to take the picture anyway. I'm amazed at people who have such patience for photographing Aurora. It's an amazing show lately. And I get actually a kick out of it, and like, you know, I'm saying for me, it never gets old. The amount of chatter on our local online bulletin board when there's Aurora is amazing. It's like every local person goes crazy when there's lots of Aurora. So it's not just me who thinks it never gets old. Everybody loves it. So I'm just rubbing my finger along here and blending this in. I'm getting fairly close, as close as I can to this, and this is hard, okay? See how quickly it blends in so nicely? And I'm not even really paying a lot of attention to where I'm going with it. I'm just blending it. Are you sniffing it?
It smells really good.
It does smell not bad. I noticed when I was cutting up the dryer lint, it smells so clean and fresh.
It smells like
Clean laundry?
Yeah. Like clean laundry and
paint.
glue.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah, it does. It smells good.
weird. It's good. I think it's finished.
Okay. All right. So we'll let that dry, and we'll work on painting this now. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I'll also throw this out there too. If anybody, you did link my page, right? If anybody has any questions, contact me. I am available if anyone has questions about how to, where you're at. Contact me anytime. Um, yeah, no, not a problem at all.
Sandra, do you think I could use the second layer on my background?
Let's see where you're at.
I'm quite happy with the texture of the bear,
Okay,
and there was just the cuts and a few high spots that kind of left them out.
that's really nice, Dave. I like that. Now, what I would recommend though is this is quite fragile. Okay, sorry, Claire. No, go ahead and take a look. It's quite fragile, and I would be concerned. Go ahead, but be very careful if you're going to do your background when your blue stuff is wet. I would be careful.
Okay, so just don't go anywhere near there.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I made a big mistake here. Okay, so I'm going to fix this. One thing, going sideways, don't do that. Don't stand sideways, because look at how I've got the curve here, and I don't like that. My Aurora lines are curved. So I'm just going to go in and change some stuff. I'm going to go over that. I just don't like what I did. And this is how easy it is with pastel to change what you've got going on, okay? Let's see, we've got a dancer here.
We're not dancing.
Okay. Now, and Katie, you were saying that this, some people might not get finished. Most people won't because of the drying time. It's going to take a while. This is not a very quick project. The instruction might be quick, but the drying time will take a while. Absolutely. Okay, this is quite, not exactly what I wanted, but that's fine. I'm going to give this a quick spray, and then I will start painting it, all right? I'm just going to put it down here on the drop sheet. Would that be, yeah, okay. I'm going to put it down here. I'm going to give it a quick spray. I'm using a low odor clear matte fixative. I think almost any kind of fixative will work. But if you're doing pastels, you do need a spray fixative. You won't be able to brush any kind of varnish on it. So I'm just spraying where the pastels were. That's right. So now you notice it's gotten a little bit darker, okay? We'll let that one sit for a bit. While you mention that, I brought a few things here. I've got some, you can use colored pencils, okay? You can use colored markers. These are ink blocks. You can use ink for it. There's other markers there. And you can also use craft paint. We'll use some paint for the background of this one. Okay, would you feel comfortable painting the back of this?
Sure.
Okay, all right. I'm just gonna set up here. We'll put some, are you done with these? Okay. We'll put a palette up here and Kara and I will share some paint. We will,
I don't think I'm
we
going
don't
to
need this one anymore.
down though.
No, we can trade. All right. So I am going to use this picture here, this line drawing, as a reference for painting this one. I think the paint is back there, Carolina.
Here. Palette?
Yeah, the palette's good. And this is what we have so far for this one. This will be this one here, that drawing. So you want to paint right there? Okay. So you choose your colors and put them out. Now we're just using standard regular craft paint. What do you want for a background? That's up to you. Okay, well you're going to decide that. And I'm going to set this one up for painting. I would love to see that. Thank you. I love seeing, and I really want to see how people are going to interpret this craft and what your spin's going to be on it. I actually had a friend tell me she wanted to do a fox. I think that might be cool too. I know it's Polar Bear Day, but I think a fox might be kind of neat with this. I think you could do anything really with it. But I want to see you there. Yes. Well, we love all animals, right? Okay. And pick a brush. There's brushes right there. We've got lots of brushes and there's water right there. Okay. So I'm going to attempt, I'm going to attempt to paint upside down.
That is.
Which could be an issue. We're going to share water. I know. So you can pretty much, that's up to you. It's your painting, it's your take, you do it on your own. Make sure you have it quite wet. Okay? For one thing I would mention for brushes, when you're painting the, what do we call this? The polar bears, this is really rough. So you need a little bit, maybe a bristly brush for painting. And I'm not spending a lot of money on the brushes that I use for this kind of stuff. I'm not using my really good brushes. Because you know what, it could wreck it. You never know. Okay? So just be careful with that. Now for painting a polar bear, I'm going to grab a palette knife. The experts will tell you something different, probably because, right, the hair is, oh, it's clear, right? Is it? It's transparent. But it's not, polar bears are not completely white. Am I right? They also, because of their fur is very reflective. So you want to have a little bit of whatever color is in your background, whatever colors are around it as well. They will reflect a little bit of that. So for the first coat, I'm going to do a yellowy white. I've mixed yellow and white together, okay? And I'm just going to paint all of this there, that color first. I'm going to do it upside down. So I'm just getting the paint in. It's rough and a lot of texture, right? So I'm just throwing paint in. Sometimes I like to just play with the texture as well. You might notice that some of the pastel color, I am a little messy, and that pastel got on here, and that's a good thing. We want that a little bit of that reflection, okay? The pastel from the background.
I love that you're adding that, Sandra. And I also, our new staff member is here helping me, and she helped me realize that I was speaking to you all but not out to the public when I mentioned sharing the photos. So definitely share pictures of your artwork with us. I put in the comment how you can do that. And I love that you're adding this comment about the fur, because a lot of our viewers watch Tundra Connections and they know that polar bear fur is transparent. So Sandra's totally spot on that, you know, they kind of show some of the colors of what's around them, right? Like if the sun sets pink or it's kind of yellow, the bear will kind of look a little bit pink or yellow, because that fur does reflect. So very cool.
Absolutely. That's one of the things, actually, if I might mention, I paint a lot of bears. And I don't get tired of it. And they're all different. There's always a different spin you can put on a polar bear. Not only because of this amazing shape, an amazing way of moving in the world. I love them. I can't get enough of just their shapes. But it's also the fur and the colors and the different colors that you can add into them.
And that's what's so great about the sort of dryer lint, mud glue that we're creating. Like each of your bears will be unique and different. Just like all the polar bears in the world are a little bit different. No bear is exactly the same, just like all of us humans. We're all unique in our
Absolutely. Ways. So as you can see, like as you're painting it, the fur, the texture of the fur starts to come out. And if you can see what I'm doing as well, while I'm painting this, I'm going in the direction of the fur. Okay, when you see the drawing that I'm using, okay, that's the line drawing. So the bear's fur would be in this direction as well. I don't know how important that is, but that's just something I do. So far, Kara. So Kara's very carefully doing her background. If you wait until your gluey mulch compound stuff is dry, painting the background will be less precarious. It'll be easier. How are you doing, Dave? Are you making a mess out of that?
No, I'm not. No,
you haven't touched it?
There's a little bit of gap around the bear.
Good.
But I think when that dries, you paint the bear, that would fix that.
Good. Now see,
but it's definitely more challenging with the bear there.
Being wet, yes. And when we did these ones, when you see the drawing that I'm using, okay, that's the line drawing. So the bear's fur would be in this direction as well. I don't know how important that is, but that's just something I do. So far, Kara. So Kara's very carefully doing her background. If you wait until your gluey mulch compound stuff is dry, painting the background will be less precarious. It'll be easier. How are you doing, Dave? Are you making a mess out of that? Or?
No, I'm not. No,
You
I
haven't
just, there's
touched
a
it?
little
Good.
bit of gap around the bear.
Good.
But I think when that dries, you paint the bear.
Yeah.
That would fix that.
Good. Now see,
But it's definitely more challenging with the bear there.
being wet.
Yeah.
Yes. And when we did these ones here, we waited until the bears were dry. Okay, so I would recommend that. We're just rushing through it a little bit right now. Okay, so as I'm doing this, I can see now the eyes and the snout area have come out. I might have to get my head in there to take a look at where it's all at. I don't know. So I'm going to leave that one like that for now, that background, and I'm going to I'm taking some brown and blue. I'm going to mix them together. And then a little bit of my yellow to make it gray, my yellowy white, sorry. And I'm just making it gray out of that. I recommend when you're painting your bear, okay, for your shadows, do something like that, okay? Use the colors that you've already used, like the yellowy white, okay, for in your shadows. And brown and blue is the fail-safe for gray. So I'm going to take a smaller brush, again kind of stiff. I'm going to try to attempt to do this upside down. And I'm just going to use the gray first. I'm going to take a look at where my ears are. I'm going to put some shadows in there where the ears are. And I think this bear is going to start to appear. And I'm saying that might be a little bit challenging. Not challenging for everybody, but some people might find this kind of having to paint the whole thing in there a little bit difficult. Like, it is a little bit for me right now. Upside down. So I've got the eye, I can texture the eye there, so I'm just going to throw these eyes in. Then I'm going to stand back and look and see if I got it right. And that's why I'm just using the gray, because that's easier to cover up than black if I have made a mistake. And I'm going to put the little nostrils in and the mouth. Now I'm just following along in the dents that I've made. I've come up close with this now so you can see where I'm at. I'm going to get around you, Carolee.
All right.
That's okay. So if you can see what I've got done here so far, I've just put the shadow of the ears and the eye, and that's just where I've had the contour in. Doesn't look that much like a bear right now, but it will, and I'm going to get a little bit around the snout and just create that face shape. Okay? Anything around you here? Coming behind you? That's okay. Dave, do you want to show what you got so far?
Sure.
So it looks beautiful, what I see.
So yeah, I've got the I'm just adding some Aurora. So I've got the green Aurora, and I'm adding some purples in here. So the green is obviously the most common color we see around here, the greeny whites, and the purples and reds aren't quite so common, but I'm going to put some reds, purples, and try and blend that into the green and see what that looks like.
Let's see. I didn't get to see. Oh, that's
Right?
pretty. Really pretty.
Just little hints of the purple and the red.
Nice.
The nitrogen lights.
Is that what they are?
The green is the oxygen. The red and the reds and purples are nitrogen. More complicated than that. But.
It's nice to know, though, and I have to tell you, that's one thing I really like about having scientists and people like that at our disposal here is those answers are always readily available. So I'm just kind of creating the face shape of the bear. All right, and I'm going to go in with black a little bit later for the eyes. Okay, and you do as much detail as you want to do for this.
I think I've finished with the ground. I have to-
Okay, do you want to show where you're at right now? Do you want to walk it up there? So Kara's got, she's doing her.
So a big glare, is that? There, do you see?
Yes, right there. Nice.
Okay, so I got a very light or like very thin layer of paint with a lot of water for white, and I put a lot of blue, light blue in there, just mixing with water as well, and hints of yellow, and under the feet a dark blue, kind of purplish, to make the shadow because the light is coming from up here, so the shadow's going that way.
That is beautiful. I love that extra nuance and detail.
Very nice, Kara. And I like how you've got it really thin, and like she's got really thin paint there, and the wood is showing through. I like the way the wood shows. I have a thing about that. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit more white. Okay, yeah, sure. That would be good. I'm going to do a bigger brush, and I'm going to do a little bit more white in some areas. Okay, I want a little bit more up here. Scared of that. So while we're painting and drawing here, if anybody, any questions or anything yet, or no?
We haven't
Yeah.
had that many questions yet. We have somewhere between 30 and 40 people joining us. Which is
Nice.
pretty cool. We've got people from Scotland and England and Ohio.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I like watching polar bears here in Churchill, and I really, like I was saying before, I don't get tired of them. I feel driven to create as many polar bears as I can for some reason. When I was a kid, I thought it was nothing to go and see bears. Oh, let's go and see bears. Or we'd hear, oh, gotta go in, there's a bear in town. You know, everybody has to run in their houses or whatever. And it seemed normal. And it wasn't until I moved away from Churchill for a little while and lived elsewhere that I realized how remarkable this place actually is. That we have our pests are polar bears. And it's such an honor to share this this space with these incredible creatures.
I think that's
That
so beautiful and so important too, Sandra. I think a lot of the people, you know, that follow us and that are maybe tuning into this event live very, very far away from polar bears, right? In Scotland or Ohio or England, and I think it's important to remember that polar bears are in people's backyards. They're in your backyards.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're not this far away, distant thing. People live with polar bears every day, and it's a very normal part of life.
we do. And people have asked me, how can you live around such danger? This is the way we see it. Most local people see it as, well, it's their land. It's the polar bear's land. And we respect that. And we live with it by being very respectful of who owns the land. And it really is theirs. When they're, like, and Dave and Kyron, both you guys are out often, if you see a bear, what do? You go the other way, right?
Yeah, or
you get out of their
just
way.
avoid it. Yeah.
Avoid them.
Yeah.
And you stay out of their way. Far out of their way. They're not, yes, they are an apex predator, but they're just their lives and they're peaceful as well. Well, I guess you'd think they're a seal.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit more dark in here and just make a little bit more contour. I don't know if you can really see what's going on with this guy, if he's coming out or not. How's yours going? You getting paint all over yourself?
No. It's surprising because I have a white t-shirt on.
I know.
I'm just adding the first layer.
Okay.
Then
Yeah. That's kind of how I like to do it. Just layer by layer, get your colors in there slowly.
there's always more than one color.
Yes, exactly. So I'm using gray for the snout right now, and I'm going to deepen that into a black.
I could just keep adding colors to it.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Or you can spray that down and see where it goes and do another layer.
You spray it, and what happens if I get spray on the?
I don't think it's going to affect it because the spray is glue, and there's
Oh,
glue
okay.
in that.
Okay, sure.
So I would put a drop sheet down, and
Yeah.
do you want me to do the spray, or do you
Yeah, I
want?
can do it. Sure.
Okay, I think you can do that, right?
Yeah.
I just need to change the light a little bit to be able to see. Can't really see what I'm doing.
And the spray can is
Okay,
oh, this one.
down the corner. Yeah, I believe. Is it there? No, I'm sorry, Dave. It's right here.
She lied to you.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. The tires, right?
I did, but it was not an intentional lie. How's that?
What do you think, Gara? Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay. Maybe it
Sabotage,
wasn't
Mom.
intentional. Yeah. Just trying to get some fun going.
I like that they sort of start as like gray bears and then they become white bears because of the
Yeah.
bear lint.
Exactly, and you know what? I kind of like the dark as well, but you know, polars are not that dark. So,
It's kind of cool though because you know, polar bears have black skin, so it's almost like with the gray, it's like the black skin underneath, and then you paint the fur white over the top or something like that.
absolutely. Actually, you know what? Good point, KT. As an artist, that is something I do often when I'm painting bears. I will do a dark underpainting first, and then add the fur. It just seems to work much better.
Very cool.
If anybody is, that's a little hint, if anybody is planning to paint a bear, that's part of my process. I normally do a dark underpainting. And almost everybody in my family says, oh, that's not the color of polar bears.
I do not.
No, but your dad and your brother tell me
I
that
know
every
that.
time. Are you leaving it that color?
I was up in a community of Arctic Bay a few years ago on Baffin Island, and there was a picture of a polar bear in reds, purples, blues. It was really interesting color
Nice.
scheme. And I said to the artist, I said, hey, I've never seen a polar bear that color before. And his response was, well, you haven't been looking right. So,
There you go.
yeah, so
I actually,
maybe they are blue. I don't know.
I- it's fun to do that, actually. Often I'll do that. I'll throw in whatever colors I see in the sky. And when you look at snow, how many different colors do you see in snow?
Right.
And that's what I think, well, polar bear's fur is reflective as well.
I think
So-
we've all seen, working up in Churchill, I mean, certainly speak for myself and Kyron, we've seen orange coloured bears at sunset. You know, you see
Pink.
black, gray, yellow.
Well, like when they say the hour, right? And you'll get that golden look on the bears. That's one of my favorite. That's my favorite light. Is that when you have the really long shadows, and you get the almost peach color on everything. And I've seen a lot of bears like that.
Yeah, one of my very favorite things about Churchill and spending time in Churchill is just the light. You know, for those of you that maybe live farther south, as you know, the farther north you go or south to the poles, you know, in winter you get very little daylight, and then in summer you get lots and lots and lots of daylight. And so you often, that results in these really long sunrises and long sunsets that can last for hours. And the angle of the sun is so low, you get these beautiful long shadows and colors, and it's just one of my very favorite things about spending time up there.
You just said exactly how I feel about it. And as a long time, that doesn't get old. I don't ever tire of the differences in the light. And you know what? I have to say, poor Kevin, my husband, when we go walking, he'll be talking. He talks and talks. We like our walks along the coast. And he's talking away, and honestly, I'm going, yeah, yeah. Because really, I'm just looking at the light and the reflection of the light on the water and the snow. It's beautiful. It really is, and it never, ever gets old. So I'm just using a little bit of black for the eyes. I just kind of put them in a little bit there. And even the brush I'm using is not very precise. Okay, I'm just throwing it in there. I'm going to do a little bit of black here at the ears to give them some depth. And I'm making use of the texture. I don't know if you can see that I'm just kind of rubbing it in there, and I'm using the texture of the lint to give it a bit of a furry look. So you know what, actually I think I'm going to take back what I said before about the levels of difficulty, because this might actually be really quite simple. It's when it's built up a lot, like this snout, that was a little bit more difficult to do. But this actually might be quite simple. As long as you use the drawing as a guideline for doing your painting, it's not that difficult at all. I'm putting the nostrils in, then I'm going to do a little bit more black around the snout.
And just a quick reminder that those line drawings are linked in the descriptions for the event on our website, on Facebook. So if you still want to go download one as kind of a guide for your painting, you can still do that.
And just a point about the line drawings. Go ahead and draw your own polar bear if you want. But that being said, and if you feel like you might be cheating or something using the line drawing, keep in mind that it's my business to draw a lot of polar bears. I do it. I've had a lot of practice. There are some really key points to make sure your bear doesn't look like a grizzly bear or a black bear or a dog. And I've practiced at it a lot. I've put in a lot of time and practice learning how to do it. So there's no problem using a line drawing. Like I transferred my own drawing onto here. I didn't draw this one directly on there. Okay, I transferred my own drawing. There's no, that you're not cheating by doing that. And there's nothing wrong with using the outline of a polar bear to create your piece of art.
And while we have a little moment of time here, I mean, I think some of the things that make the polar bear, you know, unique or different from drawing a grizzly bear or a black bear would be that nice long neck. It's one of the most distinguishing features. The little ears, you know, polar bears have small ears and they have a small tail. We think that might be just to help hold warmth in, you know, all of our extremities. If you think about when you're out in the cold, the first thing that gets cold are your fingers and your toes. So polar bears, they have small ears and a small tail to try to keep that heat in.
I don't know what else to do with this guy.
Whatever you want. I think it looks really beautiful just like that. But you're going to make it how you want it. And that's really important. Put your own spin on these, okay? Make sure you do your own style. So I'm going to walk this in a little bit now to take a look. I'm going to sneak by you, Kara. So this could be fine, just like this. Can you see okay there? Okay. So this could be fine just like that, or you can go ahead and do more detail if you wish. I've made use of the dark from the lint. I've also added a little bit more gray in there and just used a little black for this part here, for the inside the nostrils and the mouth and the eyes. You can leave it like that, or you can go a little bit further with detail. It's entirely up to you.
It's
I kind of think
beautiful.
it's cute like that.
It's nice. I like the way the you went with green in the wood.
Yeah.
In that direction, and I had
Yeah.
both the
Oh,
A
I
little bit of
love
green in there. Yeah, we can leave it like that, or we can go further. Your background is really nice. This is going to take a long time to draw.
Yeah.
This one here. Okay. And how about yours?
Good. They keep. I added a few little red highlights to the northern lights
Beautiful.
and blended in. I maybe shouldn't have went quite so hard on the red.
One thing I will caution, okay, can I point something out? Is some of the red here, if you're going to mix red and green, it's going to go brown.
Brown.
Yeah, that's okay. But always be cautious of that when you're doing Aurora. Because nature can do it fabulously. But sometimes for humans to copy nature doesn't always go that well. But it's very beautiful. Yeah, anything more we need to add? I could finish that painting. I wouldn't leave it like that. But I would play around with that, and I would continue to play if given the time. Do you want to add more to that one there, or
I
no?
don't know.
It's entirely up to you.
I don't like it.
Okay, we can talk a little bit about shaping this if you like. As it's drying, okay, I will often, the one thing I notice is that as it's drying, it gets a little bit stiffer, and you can move it around. Change your ears. Can you see what I'm doing here? Okay. And I'm just kind of creating the ears on the face a little bit more. And if you're doing a bigger bear, you can really play with it as it's starting to dry. And it becomes more pliable. I lost my reference for this one. Just the bigger card if I can. Thank you. And even though I created this whole thing, I still need the reference. There's no shame in that. So I'm just kind of creating this, or working at this a little bit more as it's drying. And feel free to do that. It's your picture, do what you like. Okay, I think that's good enough there. Kara, you did a fabulous job on the fur. I can see it's already starting to dry a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And I've done that as well. As it's drying, you can work on the texture even more if you want the fur to show even more in your texture. How's that card working for that? Is it going well?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice and pliable. It's nice and soft. I think it was quite heavy, but it's nice to
That's good.
give it a give in it. But it definitely works. Actually, it's drier, a little bit drier now.
Mm-hmm. As it dries, you can add more texture. You know
seems
that?
to be
Yeah.
a little bit more predictable.
Well, that's what I found when I was doing that. If you want to use a stiffer paste, go ahead and try that. I did try that, and I found it didn't spread very well. So just playing with it as it's drying. And like I said, this one here was a week drying, and I played with it lots. But I didn't, on this one, like I said, we have a dog who sheds out almost another dog every day. And that ends up in our dryer lint a lot. I didn't cut this dryer lint. And this part was quite difficult. There was a lot of long strings. Stella's got long hair. I would recommend, if you have a dog, cut it. Because this one and this one were quite a bit easier. Okay? And this one as well. It was quite a bit easier because I cut the lint. All right? But as it's drying, play around with it and have fun. That's what this is about. That's another thing about art, if I can just throw this out there. I think that every person in the world is born to create. And it's not about creating something fabulous, it's about enjoying the process. You don't have to worry about whether it's going to come out perfect. Just enjoy the fun and make lots of mistakes and learn from those mistakes. I'm trying to think, I might be wrong. I think it might have been Kurt Vonnegut. Something about make a lot of bad art. I totally got the quote wrong, but it really sits with me. Like, do lots of mistakes. Have fun with this thing. Make mistakes, scrape it off. That's why I brought this big scraper. This is one of my favorite things in the world, because you can just scrape the paint right off with it and scrape it off and redo it. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that, and have fun. And while you're doing that, you can think about polar bears.
I love that, Sandra. Thanks for sharing.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for letting me. So I think this guy's going to I think we did good. This is a nice collaboration that we did here, Kara. I think this guy's going to turn out great. And you're going to paint it, right? Sure. And will you post it when it's done? Okay, good. All right. And I would really, really like to see what everyone's done as well, if possible.
Yes, again, please do. You can post your picture of your art on Twitter and tag us at Polar Bears. You can drop it into the comments of this event on Facebook, or you can email it to us at questions@pbears.org, and we'll make sure that those get passed along to Sandra, and we can't wait to see what everyone creates.
That's great. And again, I will make myself available if anybody has any questions or comments or even venting frustrations. I think that creativity, a big, huge portion of creativity is frustration and saying, oh, this isn't working. How am I going to make this happen? It's problem solving and frustration. That's what this actually was, learning this. And yeah, I got frustrated a few times, but the end result, I think, is kind of fun. Okay, let's see now, Dave. You're just so busy working.
I know, adding.
You need to learn to stop.
I kind of got rid of the brown that was in the Aurora.
Okay.
So just by adding more green. So I wanted some red and purple highlights, but there was a big sort of brown. I don't want to call it a mess, but it wasn't planned to have the brown there.
A happy accident.
Happy accident, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Yeah, made it green again.
Do you want to spray it down again and see what happens with that?
Yeah, I should.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's good. I think I added a little bit more white as well.
Shake.
Okay.
You're gonna need more spray in the white.
More white.
It won't stick. The spray does, just to warn you, if you are using pastels on wood, you do have to spray the fixative fairly heavily if you want it to stay.
And Sandra, if people are maybe watching the archive afterwards, but they missed it when it was live, and maybe they didn't collect dryer lint, would something like cotton balls or other things maybe work?
I think anything could work. Yeah. I have a friend here who's done it with, or done something similar, made a sculpting compound with eggshells as well. I think any kind of fabric or any kind of, stuff. Anything like that. Like Kyron, you were mentioning that your dryer lint might have wood chips and stuff in it. That could be kind of cool. Even sawdust, maybe. I think anything that would give some texture. And the flour in the water, like my preschool teacher did for the paste, that works great. The glue, I just added that in for insurance, but I don't even think it's necessary. Or you could mix it just with glue. I've done that too, like just mix stuff with glue, and it's a little bit, it doesn't have as much oomph to it, if that makes any sense. But like it dries a little bit more clear.
Mm-hmm.
I like the added texture of the flour. I don't know, I'm a bread maker, I like dough.
We've seen projects with mulched egg cartons as well. It's kind of a fibrous material that might work too.
Yeah, that's what Julia's doing, with the egg cartons. And yeah, anything fibrous, that's the word I was looking for. Thanks, Kyron. Is anything kind of fibrous that you can cut up. I imagine right now your own hair. That could probably even work, I think. I should have done that. I just gave Kevin a haircut. I could have done something with his hair. There was a pile of it on the floor. Anything like that I think could be mixed with the flour and water, and just to create that texture. I think the most important thing though is having something like this, a scraping tool. And like the one that Dave used, you said that worked really well, right?
Yeah, I just did like a credit card, like a small, whatever that is.
If anybody feels they need to cut up their credit cards, that's actually a loyalty card. I have about 20 of them in my wallet. And
you're not very loyal this time. No?
Well, the most use they get is art. I use them quite often for painting and scraping. Yeah, so that's the use my loyalty cards get. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we can add.
Dave, if you wouldn't mind, I bet a lot of people watching maybe got to the stage you're at during this event today. So they've got a bear, they've got maybe a background. If we could show yours one more time. So my understanding, Sandra, and correct me if I'm wrong, is ideally you'd kind of get to this point and let it dry for a little while. Maybe a day.
Absolutely.
2 days. And then maybe revisit this archive and dive into painting your polar bear, white, and maybe with a reflection of another color as well.
Absolutely. Can I show here? This is what Kara did with hers. Okay, I'll pull this one in close.
Perfect.
Kara, do you want to talk about your painting? Can you see that one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's the one that I did yesterday. Well, I painted it yesterday. And I don't know how to talk about it.
Okay, do you want me to tell?
Sure.
Okay, so we did this a little bit backwards from what Dave did. Okay, and I'm happy that he did it different so we can show different ways to do it. For hers, we did the polar bear first. So we transferred the drawing, then we put the fibrous material, I like that, our mulchy stuff on there, and we did that. Let it dry for 2 days. And then she painted the background, let that dry, and then painted the bear. Okay, so it can be done that way as well, but it will need, like this amount of texture needs 2 days drying.
If you're, depending on what stage you're at too, and if people are waiting, say, for their bear to dry, and you're trying to decide how to paint the backdrop, we talked a little bit about the Aurora and the Aurora Cam, and that might be a good source of inspiration in the meantime. If you guys are waiting, it'd be a good idea to maybe hop over to the Live Explore Cam, showing the Aurora. And right now we're kind of at peak season, so it's one of the best times of year to view the Aurora, and we've been very lucky lately with clear skies and great conditions, so it just might be a good source of inspiration if people are interested in checking it out.
Thanks for highlighting that, Kyron. And we have we streamed the Aurora Cam live on our Facebook a couple days ago, so if you just scroll down you can see it there. Or Kyron, maybe what would you recommend would be the best time to watch the cam for viewers at home if they wanted to try to catch the Aurora Cam live?
So, as I mentioned, it's kind of the best time of year for the Aurora. We're lucky and fortunate here in Churchill, and we receive tons of Aurora activity like all year long, but there are certain times of year where it's better, like right now, because we're having longer nights. So the Aurora is best viewed when it's really dark. We don't have a lot of light pollution up here either, so it makes it a lot easier to see. And the days are starting to get longer, but we still do have a lot of nighttime. So say, for example, today the sun's going to set at about 20 to 6 Central Time. So it doesn't take too long after that. It'll be dark enough that you can start to view the Aurora if they do come out. And then what a lot of people here do in town is they just keep the window open on the explore.org website and then just check periodically, because the lights, it does depend on activity, and they do kind of tend to come and go, as Sandra said, fairly sporadically and sometimes quite quickly. So just keep your eye on the cam, and over the next few weeks, it's still going to be plenty dark enough through the night to hopefully get a good show.
Can I ask a question about the Aurora? This is a fun one. Now, when I was growing up, I was told you whistle and they'll sing. Or they'll dance, sorry. If you can whistle, they'll dance. I've been blowing my brains out trying, I can't whistle. But then there's other legends of if you whistle, they'll come and get you. The spirits will come and get you. So they're malevolent as well. What's your feelings on that?
I don't know, I've heard...
Have you whistled?
I haven't even thought to actually whistle while I'm viewing them.
Right.
I don't know, I've heard just kind of more folklore, like the more time you spend up here in Churchill, around the Aurora, you do hear little like stories, and I've also heard both of those as well. I think parents would tell their children not to whistle at the Aurora.
Well, we were told to whistle.
Okay.
And I've tried my darndest, and I just can't.
I think the Aurora, they're unlike the analogy about we know why flowers open up. A little flower opens up in the spring, and the roots are stabilizing the soil, and there's nutrients moving through the soil, and the flower opens up, and the insects come and pollinate the flower and take that to different flowers, and the wind blows the seeds, and the birds eat that, and even polar bears, they eat the seals on the ice, and the seals give birth, and there's all these things which are happening, and we can explain it. As far as I know, the Aurora don't seem to have any purpose. But from a scientific point of view, but from a spiritual point of view, and a legend point of view, and the people that have witnessed them over the centuries, they're so meaningful. But there's these things in the sky which don't seem to serve a purpose. What do they do?
That's part of the fascination.
Yeah, and I think this is that maybe if you whistle at them, they'll whistle back.
And that's why there's so much myth and legend and folklore wrapped around the Aurora, I believe.
We can't seem to. Maybe they do have a purpose. Maybe they do sort of cloud the atmosphere and mix particles, and that helps the wind. And I don't know, but they don't seem to have a purpose.
Or maybe that makes just for inspiration.
No, maybe that is the purpose. It's a spiritual purpose, and it fuels, it inspires us. It makes stories. I guess that is a purpose,
Yeah. Well, and it definitely inspires wonder.
Right.
Right. And like I said, I grew up standing. I have so many memories of standing outside in my nightgown, freezing, being called outside by my parents to look at the Aurora. And we still do that. Sometimes we're outside freezing, looking up, because it's so amazing.
is amazing. I know Kyron and I were out about a week ago taking pictures of the Aurora,
Uh-huh.
trying to, we're learning, and it's just a matter of seconds for your hands to freeze up. You know?
Yeah. Oh, it's that cold.
Take
Yeah.
the pigments off, and it's seconds.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know.
It's amazing.
Just one more thing too, if anybody is wanting to do Aurora, I would recommend, if you want Aurora for your background, I would go with pastels on the wood. Yeah, I have painted Aurora, I've drawn Aurora with pastels. If you're going to paint it, that'll require a lot of layers. But the pastels, it happens quickly, and it just seems to work. It blends really nicely, as you can see from what Dave did. And on these ones here, I didn't even think about Aurora. I just followed the lines, and it ends up looking that way a little bit. This one looks like it might be Aurora with some clouds, right? And we do get that quite often. That's kind of neat looking too. So definitely go with pastels. I hate to say this, but the more expensive the pastel, the better color laydown you'll have. But that doesn't mean you need top quality. But and if it's pastels, it's chalk pastels, not oil pastels. Keep that in mind as well for these ones. You could probably use oil as well. I think that would work. It might be a little bit more work for blending, but the drier, they might call them soft pastels or chalk pastels, work the best, in my opinion.
Very cool. Well, with that, I mean, this has been such an amazing event. Thank you so much, Sandra. Did you have any other closing remarks for folks before I wrap things up?
Not much. Just again, I am available if anybody needs any help, or if anyone has any questions or concerns. And thank you to all of you guys for letting me share a little bit of this and have fun reusing our dryer lint. Thanks again. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Absolutely. I just want to pop back in here and say thank you so much to Sandra. It's such a treat. You know, I usually get to spend a little bit of time in Churchill, and of course with the pandemic I haven't been able to be up there, so it's just even been fun to work remotely on a project with some of our friends that we are missing for sure during this crazy time. And I just want to thank all of you at home that are learning and doing art and finding other ways to find inspiration and creativity in your lives right now. I think it's so important to have these outlets with art, with play, with imagination, all of that. So our next live event today for International Polar Bear Day will be at 3 Pacific, 4 Mountain, 5 Central, 6 Eastern, and it is a special film screening. We'll be joined by Elisa McCall, one of our staff scientists, to introduce the film. And again, it's International Polar Bear Day. There's lots of different ways that you can celebrate with us today. You can go check out our website. One of the biggest things that you can do, any person, any age, all around the world, is just talk about polar bears, talk about climate change, keep this conversation going, and make it just a normal part of our daily lives, that these are things that we talk about and we share our passions and our love for nature. And then this International Polar Bear Day, we are specifically asking people to support our efforts to fund a new research project to protect moms and cubs. So you can learn more about that on our social media channels, on our website. And again, thanks to Kara for helping out today. Thanks to Kyron and Dave, our team in Churchill, and thanks to all of you viewers. We hope to see your photos of your art, and be sure to go check out Sandra's Facebook page. We'll throw the link into the chat again. It's Sandra Cook Art on Facebook, and you can find some more inspiration there. So with that, we'll sign off, and happy International Polar Bear Day, everyone.